This may look familiar to you guys. I was working today and I was about an hour and a half before I was supposed to clock out, and my body decided that it was tired and it was gonna just chill. And so I ended up having an episode. It was one of my more minor episodes where I didn't fall from a standing position to the ground, but I had gotten up from my desk to talk to a nurse, and I felt that telltale wave of heaviness that I usually get before I have an episode. And usually there's a couple things that happen before I actually have an episode, which is that I feel that wave of heaviness where all of a sudden I feel like gravity is turned up to 10, and it just feels harder to take a deep breath, like it's just too much energy to breathe. And then I get this wave from like my feet, and it just goes rushing up to the top of my head, and I get like vertigo, and I just feel like my body is just deciding to take a pause. And so the nurse I was speaking to has seen me have an episode before, and so she took one look at me and she's like, "You're gonna pass out, aren't you?" And I said, "How did you know?" And so she was nice enough to basically wrap me up in a big ol' bear hug, and had someone get a chair for me. And I should have just lied down on the floor, but the floor in the hospital, I don't care how much they clean it, is just not a good place to lie down. And so they put me on a chair, and unfortunately, once an episode starts for me, my body will continue to fight me until I am flat. And so by sitting in the chair, I just felt that continual pull down, 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 down. And so I kind of slid off the chair because I was on two rolly chairs. I was sitting in one and I had my legs up on another one. And so I just kind of like fell in between the two and kind of like thudded onto my butt. But by that time, the charge nurse had come over. He was already calling and trying to figure out a bed for me. But unfortunately, I ended up having an episode, and I actually did the math, and it has been, as of yesterday, it was 63 days since my last dysautonomia episode, or POTS episode. I finally got into Stanford, and I talked to an autonomic neurology guy that works with my doctor, and he confirmed that he went over my tilt table, and he said that you do have POTS that caused an NCS response. So I have been living over 2 years of my life with the wrong diagnosis. So I am a POTSy with NCS tendencies, so I'm mixed, I guess. So yeah, who knew? So I guess I have, so POTS and NCS response is how he described it. But that happened around 6:30. I was sitting in the ER until about 10:30. No, about 10. And I had 3 liters of IV fluids down in the ER, and then they're running another bag of fluids. And because with my episodes I have some level of arrhythmia when I'm feeling symptomatic afterwards. I'm sorry if I'm not looking at the camera so often. I'm so fascinated by the red light that I keep looking at my screen instead of the actual camera lens. But with an increase in symptoms post-episode, and I'm sure I actually do this fairly often on a regular basis anyways, but the only time I ever really get an EKG is when I'm in the ER, having recently had an episode. But I have a trend of expressing intraventricular conduction delay, which is basically like a heart pause, and partial right bundle block. And I forget if that's basically an extra beat. I forget. But basically I have arrhythmia where I'll either have an extra heartbeat, or I'll skip a heartbeat, or it's fast and then it's slow. But I tend to just recover slow from these, where I'm too weak, I'm too woozy. Like, I know that if I stand or I walk for any length of time, that I'll go down again. So I was admitted overnight, so they're gonna continue to be on top of my fluids, and then hospitalist is gonna come in the morning, and it sounds like they're gonna do another echocardiogram on my heart. I'm not entirely sure why. I've had 2 in my lifetime. I had one in 2016 when I was first diagnosed, and then I had one about a year ago to rule out aortic aneurysm. So I'm not sure why it is that they're wanting to do the imaging, but who knows. But I think I probably had this episode for a lot of reasons. I've been keeping a schedule that really isn't conducive to someone with the medical challenges that I have, and I've been pretty sleep deprived for a while, and I've noticed that my symptoms are usually at their worst when I'm sleep deprived. And if I have a dysautonomia POTS episode, it's because at least in part, I was sleep deprived. And so I really haven't gotten more than about 5.5 hours for several days now. And then I just feel like I haven't been able to hydrate like I'm supposed to, and there comes a time with me where I feel like no matter how much water I drink, I just can't replenish my insides. I think I tend to be hypovolemic, where I just have low blood volume. So I'm not entirely sure why I had this particular episode, but there's a lot of things that I could look at as possible factors, as far as just feeling like I just have low blood volume lately, and just being way overtired and just pushing myself too hard, and the fact that this latest patch, after about 4 or 5 days of consistent high pressure headache, I feel like it subsided, and that I had busted the patch, or that it's not working as well, I feel like. But who knows? It's hard to tell this early on. But so it could have been a lot of things, and if we just go off of the numbers, 63 days since my last episode isn't bad, and it's still a lot less than what it used to be back when my leaks were at their worst, where I was having episodes, once or twice a month. with both of those being ER trips, and God forbid they're both admissions. So I'm just chilling and watching YouTube videos and Food Network, and just gotta wait until the morning and see what the doctor says. But the whisper is another echocardiogram, and then they want me to see PT, I guess, to see if I could walk. I'm not sure. But that's kind of where I'm at. So I made it a whole 10 days into the new year before landing my butt in the hospital. But it's kind of nice to lie down and in a quiet and dimly lit room without a lot of noise and a lot of people, and my cat's breaking things in the middle of the night. So I'm taking the break where I can get it. So I will have to update you guys on how tomorrow goes. So I will see you in the next video.